let me see. So tonight, a special spiritual soul session. It's a combination of visual artistry, a visual artist by the name of John Nine, over near Manhattan Beach in El Segundo, California. I really don't know. It's a typical Soulogy style. We'll just make it up as we go. Spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative, and depending on what John and I talk about, courageous, the virtues of the I Am Soul. We'll have a little bit of music after we talk for a little bit. But yeah, I just met John Nine, the visual artist. He's joining us from his creation, the House of Gongs, and there's a lot of really cool stuff over there. I understand there's there's a lot of toys over there. I'm going to let him explain that all to us. But John Nine, welcome to Soulogy. It's nice to have you here. Thank you for coming in and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence.
Well, thank you very much, and I am honored to be here.
Well, it's an honor to have you here. All I can say is the energy coming from the House of Gongs is amazing, and not just the visual behind you, but even the gongs themselves look like they're from other planets. What's the story behind? What's the story of John Nine?
The story, the gongology.
House of Gongs. Yeah.
Well, it started 4 or 5 years ago. I was traveling. I was staying in a hotel, and one of the services they offered was a gong wash. And they had an in-house gong master. And I said, well, I'm going to have to try that. And I went down and lied down and had a 1-hour gong experience in which I completely left my body, traveled through the universe, had a very profound experience, and landed back on Earth. So a week later, I was back in Los Angeles, and I decided I need to get a gong. And once I had one gong, I needed to get a second gong, and on and on and on. So we're up to 9 gongs now. And what I discovered was, in case you can't tell, I work with a lot of technology. I work with multiple screens, immersive environments, and when I try and reach people through technology, it sometimes is very complicated. Things don't go as planned, or the impact isn't what you would like. But when I came to work with gongs, I discovered that all I needed was a piece of metal and a stick. And that's the level of the technology, yet it has the ability to move people in very interesting and profound ways. And there are lots of studies done about gongs and lots of books being written and people prognosticating about the effect of the gongs. And there's a lot to be explored there and a lot of knowledge. And in fact, ties, and I've already had a couple of very deep conversations along those lines dealing with the subject of frequencies and the sound fields that gongs create. But I kind of take a very non-scientific approach to explaining gongs, and it's very simple. Up until the pandemic hit, I was having a weekly gong event where I would get 20 people or so together, and everyone was in a lounge chair, and I would simply play the gongs for an hour. And my thoroughly scientific observation was that everyone who left those sessions was smiling. So that's my scientific analysis of the power of gongs. And on top of that, I've had so many people say to me they were traveling outside their body, they, had an encounter with their mother, they, had physical sensations. One woman told me it felt like her chest was made of glass and it shattered. It's a really interesting instrument, and it's also an instrument that's got a lot of history. There are gongs that are thought to be 16,000 years old. So it's literally one of the earliest types of technology, and it's still with us, and it hasn't really changed much. So now, after about a year of really exploring the gongs, the pandemic hit. And so I shut down the House of Gong and just played the gongs for myself, which was a whole other experience. And I took my relationship with the gongs to another level. And now it's time to kind of reopen the House of Gong and get some energy back in here. And I'm so grateful for Ty and for Caesar, who's here, who introduced me to Ty, because already the energy vortex is opening up here, and we did some recording last night that was just spectacular, and then in a little bit we'll see what we can create for you today.
Wow. Yeah. Well, Ty's got 6 of them in Sedona in his studio. And I spent most of the last 6 months of last year over there, and probably of the nights or the days that I was in Sedona, I probably slept in the studio maybe 25 or 30% of the time, because I just tended to work late. And
I do
but
that.
yeah, you can
been
relate,
there,
right?
done that, yeah.
Yeah. So, but what would happen is, as we all have our lives away from our creative, our creative work, and just life itself or whatever, I would get a bit stressed at times. And, I like to go for walks, and sometimes that wouldn't work it out. So I would just walk into the gong room and, I would just get one of those things and I would just hit the gong one time and lay down. And that's all it would take.
Nice.
And, yeah, it was real nice. And it was nice too, because other times I would play, I might hit each one of them once or twice, and then let that those added frequencies of each gong kind of fill the room and just lay there. And there's something to be said for it. There's no doubt about it. So I'm anxious to see what we get into today. Tell us, you're John 9 visual artist. I mean, and there's some hellacious visuals going on right now. I feel like I'm back in the old days doing plant medicine. But
well, funny you should mention that. I got very involved with plant medicine and traveled down to Peru a couple times, and ever since I started that relationship, I've been looking for ways to recreate that experience in digital media for people who will never really have another opportunity to experience it. So the patterns you're looking at now, these are a step along the way. What's happened in the last year for me is I discovered, like everyone else, artificial intelligence. And so now I'm using AI to generate the imagery. A step along the way. And it's opened up a whole new world, but I'm hoarding those visuals. I'm going to save them all up and then have some kind of a big opening and start sharing them. So what you're saying is that you're creating visuals that simulate or emulate your experiences with plant medicine? Not only create the visuals, but put them into an entirely structured experience. Because every plant medicine experience has a shape to it, and ideally, in my opinion, based on my experience, the shape should be like a nice mountaintop, Mount Fuji or something, where you start out, you're climbing the mountain, it's getting a little more arduous, you fight your way through, you get to the top of the mountain, you have a transformational experience, and then you come back down the mountain and back into the village or your life and get reintegrated into it through this transformational matrix.
Wow.
So if I can accomplish that in visuals and sound, using indigenous cultural memes, I guess would be one way to say it, then I think we have the opportunity to go beyond entertainment and into some kind of transformational experience that I think people would enjoy and benefit from.
Wow, this is intense. It's like an extrapolation of hanging out with Ty. So, okay, I have a couple of questions. One is, I mean, anyone that's, I think, seriously goes into plant medicine with, with the intent of expanding consciousness, understands that the plant medicine itself has a consciousness, and for me, it's no different than engaging other types of energies that let's just say, may have a non-physical properties, or even other human beings, or even music. But I was wondering, like with these graphics that you've got going on, this incredible imagery. To me, it feels like it has its own consciousness. It's really two questions in one. When you work with tech, when you work with AI, do you feel like that you're merging with it, engaging with it, communicating with it, and do you feel like that these images carry their own consciousness?
Well, first of all, I absolutely agree with you about the idea and the feeling and the experience of plant consciousness. I've had conversations with that consciousness. I've been issued orders by that consciousness. I was told at one point to stop working with the plant medicine and stay up north and manifest, and that's what I've done. So for people who haven't experienced, the idea of a plant having consciousness probably seems strange, but when you do encounter it, it's very natural. When I'm making these kinds of imagery, what I do is concentrate on the process and not the result. So I don't start out with an exact idea of what I'm going to do. I start out with all the pieces, and I start putting the pieces together, and I try and just let things form. And I also have a series of media servers that allow me to work in real time. So I don't have to go and render pieces and put them in an edit and do any of that stuff. I can just instantaneously change all the variables and all the parameters until I like it, and then I can record that. So it's a whole different creative process from what's normally done in production, where you start with a storyboard and then you do a shoot and then you do an edit and then you do post.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. I can relate to that. Energetically speaking, even though I haven't done what you're doing, I like the idea of you're basically kind of it's improvisational, and there is that spontaneous, creative, intuitive part of it, and so you just keep on riding the pony until it feels just right. That's really cool.
That's exactly right. And then what I'll do is I'll take material like this, and then I put it on a video wall with, like the one I'm looking at right there that has 24 screens on it. Now I have the opportunity to manipulate it again and maybe mix it with other files and put different images onto different parts of the matrix. And what I've been discovering is that you can use a matrix of multiple streams of video to do traditional storytelling. And I believe that is the format of entertainment, that's what we're evolving towards, and that's going to be the next paradigm for not just entertainment, but communication and information delivery.
Yeah, I received a download in 2014 that had to do with Soulogy, that it was explained to me that there would be a new genre, and somehow or another we would be a part of it, that obviously involved co-creation and collaboration, but that it was taking as many frequencies as possible and blending them together in a spontaneous atmosphere, which is what I'm looking at, and listening to. But then also, I think so important what you said, the term storytelling, because aside from any of the books or even the sacred texts, I mean, nothing is 100%. And the oral tradition, the oral history, in all its in all of its faces, is really where it's at, and more than in any case for me, it's in the present moment. So when Ty and I get together, as we've been getting together for a year now, I mean, it's just kind of evolved into this spontaneous speaking and melody, and we might come up with a theme, but there, like you said, there's no storyboard, there's no structure. You just, what's on your mind today, and what are you feeling today, and then everything starts coming into play, and I love it because you've got music, you've got the spontaneity, the improvisational part of it, you got the lyrical, you got melody, you've got silence, you've got different sounds and instruments, and then when you take the visuals, because the last 2 weeks he has put visuals to it utilizing AI, and I'm pretty good because I've been doing this for a long, long time. I've done about 6,000 video productions, and so I'm kind of a numbers freak, and I watch the metrics, both in the energetic field, I guess you could say, but also in the linear field, and I noticed that the traction with the addition of the visuals was really, really powerful these last 2 weeks. So this is no mistake. Like my grandmother said, everything happens in threes. So this is the third time with some element of visuals. So this is going to be really interesting.
Well, 3 threes are 9.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. That's why I know the Soulogy Fest in December is going to be dope because it's the third one. So
what's that all about? What's the festival all about? What's the festival all about?
Well, the festival is very much what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We did the first one in Sedona in 2021, and we didn't follow a traditional path. We did have some well-known people, but 50% of the stage time. Well, we did a couple of things different. We didn't have any breaks. There was always something going on the stage. We had a bandstand, or we had a musical setup at all times for anyone that needed it. And so we always kept it moving. If you wanted to go get a sandwich, you just go get a sandwich, and the show kept going, and there were speakers throughout the facility or the property, so you could hear it if you were on the other side of it. So right from the get-go, it was 50% of the stage time would be, we just make it up as we go. And who wants to come up and give a testimony or share some light language, or read a poem or recite a poem or sing or rap or whatever they want to do. And then the second one was quite an energetic event, and it was more of a community-based thing. And this one, the theme is everybody is a star. So rather than having keynote speakers or key performers, everyone that comes is a presenter and a performer.
I love that.
So everybody is a star is the theme for it. And so we've done this with Soulogy over the years. Before we started doing festivals, we would roll into town. We would put out a couple of posts on social media and tell everybody, hey, we're going to have a mic and a few instruments, and come on down and let's just see what happens. And 3-4 hours of fellowship, and people coming up, playing the didge or playing the harp, or just telling us their story, or sing, just all kinds of stuff happens. It's magical, the spontaneous. I'm not an accomplished musician, but back in the day when I was doing this in like 2015, 2016, out of my studio, which was just my house, and just broadcasting, by the seat of my pants, I've always written, so I started putting, just finding instrumentals and then speaking to the instrumentals, and then it went into melody and kind of a rap thing, and then I put visuals to it, and that was in my own way trying to reach for that, which you've taken to a whole other level, and Tide have taken to a whole other level. So I really feel like that, to answer your question, if I haven't, is Soulogy Fest is is really like a spontaneous jam. That's what it's like.
Okay.
It's like a drum circle, with a talking stick, and you just see what happens. And we've made some incredible magic over the years, and even like with Ty, because he's a musical savant. We have people sit in with us now and then, and wow, we just have some incredible things happen and electrifying moments that when I was doing my thing, I think I did about 100. I called them Soul Speak music videos. I think if I did 195 were one take. And that doesn't mean that they were great, but you can't replace
Right.
that first time. So there's just something magical in a spontaneous atmosphere where the third energy really shows itself.
Yes. You know, you mentioned earlier in one of your remarks, you were talking about silence.
Mm.
And it reminded me that the fundamental change in my relationship to the gongs was that early on I was playing the noise. And after I spent 2 years by myself, I learned how to play the silence. And by setting up the gong and then subtracting the sound. And it turns it into a whole different experience.
Wow.
Yeah, you see this big giant gong behind me? You can't even see the whole thing.
Which one?
That big disc right there.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's huge. Is that what is that, like 6 feet tall?
7. It's a
Wow.
7-foot diameter gong. It's a temple gong from Thailand.
Do you have to get like a crane to move it around?
As a matter of fact, yes, we shut off traffic. We had this massive crane lifting it up off the
Holy.
flatbed. It's just, the whole thing with the gongs has just been this experience of the universe delivering all of this to me with, clear invitation to do something with it. So
Wow.
now this gong right behind me that looks like some kind of halo, that one's got 9 semicircles on them. We call those nipples. And that gong is based on the number 9.
Wow.
The fellow that designed it is the acknowledged grand master of all gong masters, Don Conryu, his name is. And as soon as I saw that design online, I had to get that gong, of course. And there's a wonderful gentleman up in Lincoln, Nebraska, who, if I can do a shameless pitch, he's got an outfit called Gongs Unlimited, and that's where you can find all the gongs your heart desires. And he was, in fact, Andrew is the proprietor. He's the one that found the giant gong for me and helped me wrestle it into my studio. And,
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's a whole gong subculture. I mean, there's tons of people that do gongs on Instagram and social media. And it's an interesting community. Some people are very into the sort of health and wellness side of it. Other people are more into the mystical, plant medicine side of things. But it's a wonderful energy to be around, because as you experienced with your just playing 1 or 2 beats on the gong, you'll see when I play with Ty, I have an exact opposite style. I play continuously in a roll.
Yeah.
And then I vary the amount of pressure, I vary the location on the gong, I vary which mallets I'm using, but I'm never stopping. And at first I noticed that other people didn't play that way. And, people would ask me, well, how do you learn, how do you learn to play the gongs? And my answer is very simple. The gongs tell you, they train you. You just listen and be open. And I got a very clear message that my job was to play the gongs however I was moved to play them. There's no more right or wrong way than there is a right or wrong way to make a painting. You can't say, this is how you make paintings. So, anyone who starts working with gongs can take the relationship as deep as they like. And I happen to have large gongs. I like the sound of them. That one's 7 feet. This one's 48 inches. My little sunflower gong here is, I think that's 32 inches. I've got this 53-inch gong. And each one's got its own personality and its own tonalities and its own way of vibrating.
Wow. That's amazing. And I guess, like, going back to the plant medicine having a consciousness, that I guess when you think about it, I mean, everything is that sound, and that's even like the original consciousness, the sounds.
Well, I recently saw a clip online, and someone had somehow listened to a black hole and had taken the energy emanating from a black hole and turned it into audio. And to me, it sounded exactly like a gong.
It's amazing. I have a collaborator in New Zealand, and he records plants, the music of the plants, and it's freaking amazing. He has a whole video series. And then I'm also thinking about, I lived in Kauai for a little less than a year back in 2019, and there was this group of people that would gather, I believe it was every Sunday, and they had this giant room, and they had they must have had 12, 15 gongs on like rollers, and they would just, well, they call it a sound bath.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. But I'm anxious to see. Yeah, I've never seen these gongs with the nipples on them.
Oh.
And I can feel, like, to me they look galactic. They don't even look like they're from this planet.
Well, Don, who designed the 9 gong, has a lot of interesting ideas about that and why he designed it that way. Perhaps a subject for another day.
I think we're going to have to come out to L.A.
Come on out.
See what we can get into.
We'll gong you up.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Well, I got to say, meeting Ty has been a really a great pleasure, because he's just an incredible font of knowledge about things that I'm very curious about.
Yeah.
I mean, having to do with light and sound and energy and frequencies.
Yeah.
And as I said, I'm no scientist, but I do like to dig into things that I'm engaged with. And the nature of gong experience, the way that it doesn't create a tone, it creates a field of sound, is something I think a lot about and explore.
I'm just anxious to see what we're going to get into today, what you're going to get into.
Well, say the word.
Now, I just want to ask you about the visuals.
Yeah.
Obviously people are familiar with the term green screen. I mean, I've got one behind me.
Yeah.
But he sent me a couple of pictures when he got over there, and the screen behind you is black. I mean, are these screens or this type of innovation something that you came to yourself?
This is a screen. This is an LED screen, but it's not. There you can kind of see how it's.
God.
Yeah, it's about 18 feet by 9 feet. It's from Sony, and they call this a crystal LED screen because of the high quality of the engineering and the amazing pictures that it makes.
I guess you can't get those at Walmart.
No, but you can get them.
Yeah, not on my budget.
Well, maybe get you a projector.
That's nice. That's amazing.
Yeah, so this is the type of technology that's now being used in Hollywood for what we're now calling virtual production. And that's where you have actors in front of it like a green screen, but instead of the green screen, you have a computer that's generating the visuals in real time according to the movements of the camera. So if the camera's panning or tracking or zooming, then the imagery that is behind it on the screen is moving and changing accordingly, as though you're a real set of eyes looking at it.
Yeah.
And so what we've got here is kind of the miniature version of that. You know, the big, large stages, they'll have 40,000 pixels. We've got just a 4K image, but on a very gorgeous, spectacular piece of hardware.
Yeah.
And the other nice thing about it is now that I'm making all kinds of new art, because this piece you're looking at is probably a year and a half old, but all the new AI art, when I put it on this screen, it's not only a high quality image, but it's large and it just really impacts you. So I've decided that the artwork I'm doing going forward is only going to be available on large screens. I'm not going to do like online art. I'm not going to do little NFT caricatures or something. But I'm working towards taking screens like this and embedding the art on it, and that will be my work.
Wow.
Because I think when you do work with higher quality technology, you have more of an opportunity to engage people. And especially these images, when you're in the studio, you can really see everything looks very three-dimensional and very rich.
Yeah.
And then driving it, I have these servers from a company called Hypnotizer. And a lot of what you're seeing is being generated in real time using random variables. So this background will never look the same again. This is being generated as we look at it. And that opens up all kinds of interesting possibilities. You can tweak the engine so that it's responding to, say, a dancer's movements or the sound of a voice or the flight of a bird or whatever you want to use as information to transform the visual components.
Man, this is dope. I guess the only thing left is to see how the gongs fit with it, huh?
Okay, I guess so.
Yeah. Yeah, this is amazing. Yeah.
Well, Ty, are we ready to roll? Okay, how will I know when to stop? Because I could go for a couple hours, no problem.
Yeah, you'll know what you did last night.
Okay.
But if
I'm going to take myself off the screen.
The big gong needs a big house.
coming back nice and slowly here. Let's see if we put Todd to sleep or not. I don't see Todd there. Let's see. You out there, Todd? There he is.
Yeah, I'm here.
There we go.
Yeah. I had the luxury of having the Zoom. I was watching both. I was watching two of the platforms. I was watching YouTube and I was watching on Facebook. And I think the band of frequencies got so high it knocked it off. It was in and out, and then it totally dropped out of.
Just gave up.
Yeah, it just dropped out of YouTube, and but I think it's trying to bounce back in. Anyway, it there's no question. I mean, I've seen this happen on so many shows where the energy is just so powerful, and I think that's what happened because when we were doing the conversation, there was no issue at all.
Well, streaming.
Looks like it. Yeah, it looks like it's picked back up on Facebook. Yeah, it's picked back up. Yeah, that's wild. That's wild.
Gongs are notoriously difficult to record or transmit.
Yeah.
And, when you're on any of these streaming services, you're dealing with compression, and it's a challenge.
So that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's just, you got to be there.
Exactly. Yeah. I
guess. Well, I'm gonna see. I'm sure that the sound's captured on the original recording, but to be there would be two different things. I mean, there's no question, especially with the visuals.
Well, just the nature of the sound is unique. And last night we did a taping, and Ty, I don't know what magical keyboards he has over there, but he did the absolute best recording of a gong I've ever heard.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, but even then, trying to stream that and then trying to listen to it is, a crapshoot. It might work, might not. But it's definitely not the same as being there. Yeah, but if it can be, that doesn't surprise me. Do you know who the band is from the '60s? The band?
The band.
Oh,
remember
the band. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you know who Ty? I keep telling Ty he reminds me of Garth Hudson.
Okay.
The multi-instrumentalist, the guy that played the organ and everything. He played everything.
Mm-hmm.
He was like he wouldn't join the band unless they made him the music teacher.
Huh.
That's a true story. But yeah, they have the same, kind of talent to me. Yeah, I would like to hear what y'all do last night. What'd y'all get into?
It was just improvisational meeting of the minds.
Wow.
And we shot with, I have a 12K camera here. And so we shot it with that, and plus Caesar's handheld camera. And we're going to cut it together, and Ty's going to work up the track. We got a good recording, multi-track recording, and it'll be a nice piece. And then, there are ways of taking that master and encoding it to make it look as good as it possibly can over streaming.
Yeah.
But doing live streaming like this is really tough, especially these kinds of visuals. Compression's based on the idea of saving the number of pixels you have to define in each frame. And when every frame is different from the one before, it's a recipe for compression problems. So, I've been dealing with that my whole creative career because I'm always
it looks like
it
looks like it's carried over. So I mean, it's like the gong sound itself. It's a lasting impression on the streaming because it's still acting up, and I know it's not your signal. So it's got to be the frequencies. I mean, they're just still bouncing around in there. There's no question.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. God, what an amazing treat.
Well, it's amazing to be here and have the opportunity to share it with you.
Yeah, this is we'll definitely have to get out to LA, and
Mm-hmm.
we got a lot of people in our community out there, which is Soulogy is an interesting thing. It's really the same thing we were talking about earlier about the music and uh, just the spontaneous. There's no doctrine, there's no dogma. It's just an energy. It's just people showing up and
Mm-hmm.
sharing themselves. That's really all it is.
Well, I've been thinking about how to create a gong experience for a large crowd of people, like hundreds of people.
Wow.
Because just having one gong on the stage doesn't do it. And
Right.
if you try and record that gong and reproduce it, you're really listening to the loudspeakers. You're not listening to the gong. And
True.
it's just not going to be the same. So what I'm imagining is a whole series of gongs surrounding the audience that are all controlled with a MIDI-controlled robotic gong arm.
That's wild.
Yeah, but it would work. It'd be great.
Yeah, I could imagine one like in one of those. Well, the first Soulogy Fest we had, the guy had one of those geomantic domes.
Uh-huh.
The ones. You know what I'm talking about? The ones where you can stand in the middle, and it's perfect, like the perfect
Yeah.
acoustics.
Oh,
That
yeah.
would be what.
Yeah.
No,
Domes are getting very popular.
yeah. I'm actually going to look into that for the Soulogy Fest. I've seen some that are kind of like, they're not tent like, but I mean
Mhm.
they're actually I guess mobile,
Yeah,
modular.
you can get very large inflatable domes, and
Yeah.
they set up in a day, and you project on the inside, you put lighting on the outside.
Oh man,
It's widely
Well-
available.
really?
Yeah.
So back in the old West, what was the saying? Have gun will travel. Does that apply to gongs now?
Absolutely.
Does it? What are you doing in
Have gong will
December?
travel. Well,
We'll have
I
to-
don't know. Let's talk about it.
December 8, 9, and 10. Yeah,
Okay.
that's that's just and that's the great thing about this whole thing. I mean, we're talking about the spontaneity. I've been saying on the show for years, because people, I've done 4,300 of these Soul Speaks 5Ds, which is really a
Wow.
conscious conversation. It's funny because for a long time, like for the first couple thousand shows, people would be like, we're going to meet and here's my list of questions. I'm like, no. Just meet me in the studio at the time of the thing the time
Uh-huh.
it starts.
Yeah.
And I've actually had a couple of people get pissed off at me. Like, I didn't even know we were live yet. I'm like, well, we're just trying to capture capture it authentically. And so it's kind of happening that way. And we didn't have the benefit of almost, 5 months notice in the previous two that we did. We only had like 9 weeks,
Uh-huh.
10 weeks. But so, the way things are already happening and like running into you and a couple other people, I'm like, wow, this is going to be wild. Because we got a lot of space. We got, probably we're going to have, when it's said and done, I'd say probably 20,000, 23,000 square feet of area,
Nice.
covered area. And it's actually located on 30 acres.
Wow.
Yeah, so and it's a real unique place. Some friends of mine own it, and it's in the town. It's in Houston. It's in South Houston. So
Wow.
we've got a lot of room to play and a lot of time to plan. And we're actually gonna be able to go into the facility or go onto the grounds 30 days before
Oh, that's
we
good.
start. So
That's
we're gonna
great.
go in and kind of partition our area off and kind of get things organized. And it's got enough parking for 1,500, 2,000 cars. I mean, so there's plenty of space to work with.
Where is it? In Texas?
Houston, yeah.
Houston? You know,
Houston, Texas.
aside from my work as an artist, I've spent the last couple of decades doing corporate communications work with very large scale video walls and domes and immersive environments. That's been my professional life for, my past. So, the project you're talking about is an opportunity perhaps to bring that sophistication in terms of technology together with the artistic and creative vibes and
Wow.
really turn the thing on.
Well, I'm all ears, and I haven't met Caesar, and I wanted to meet Caesar because we've always run. We've never really run. Um, we've always run by the seat of our pants, and we recently left social media, Soul's Guidance, and we've kind of become just an independent, non-censored. And we're putting it together. We're building the software team is, it's from the ground up. It's customized from the ground up, and it's, we're just taking one step at a time, and that's really, so this is an opportunity, and I feel like that the network, the site, the network is going to kind of converge with the festival. We'll probably have a social community by the time we get there. We'll have an app very soon. We'll have 24-hour material running at all times, and so it's all kind of happening. And this feels very resonant and aligning to me. So either, I think I've been feeling now that we're launching and the ticket sales are going out and the network's starting to stabilize a little bit. It's time to get on the road. So I can see, coming out there and having a discussion and seeing what we can work up.
That would be wonderful. The piece I was telling you about, the vision I have about the mountain-shaped experience, I'm actually pretty far along in the development of that, and I'm working with a shaman in Peru that I met 20 years ago. We've since become very good friends, and I asked him to start writing about his life and his work and his family and his culture and his community. And we now have 110 pages that he's written describing his perspective on life and also describing the wisdom that he has gained from being an ayahuasquero. And his grandfather was a class of shaman that no longer exists. He was the last of his kind. He was the shaman of all shamans. And so we've been gathering all this source material. I also sent him a video camera, and he's been shooting video. And we're trying to think about how we're going to mix all of that with artificial intelligence generated images and create that experience. And it seems like December might be just the right time frame to put that together and perhaps have it at that event as a kind of premiere.
Wow, that's and see, the other thing is too, I don't know. I mean, I downloaded this years ago, and I've seen it, both the network and this gathering type, the festival kind of thing. And, I didn't really understand it. I kept getting it over the years, and thinking, how like a lot of these downloads, you think, oh, it's going to happen tomorrow, or here's how it's going to happen. It's really, I had a long corporate career at a national level with in my industry, with the biggest companies in my industry. I was kind of like the Michael Jordan of the industry, and I did a lot of innovative stuff, but I utilized a lot of my natural abilities and fit them into that structure, that semi-structure of the corporate environment. And over the years with Soulogy, anytime I tried to apply that, I got shot, I got kicked in the ass. and the universe said, no, you're not going to do it that way this time. It's strictly got to be that 100% open, flowing, kind of spontaneity and that. And I really feel like that that's what's happening, not just in how it's developed, but also in every production that it develops, and every occurrence that it has. So I feel like that there's no mistakes, no coincidences, and we'll have to sit down and all of us and just see what we come up with. And what I was going to say is that I started to get lost there, but we actually have access, like I said, 30 days before, and I'd already been planning on having some of the core collaborators come in early, just toying with it, just saying, oh, since we've got the space, we've already got everything set up, why don't we have people come in
Yeah.
on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and collaborate and share technology, share ideas, maybe run some workshops, as creators and sharing, what works for us, what doesn't work for us. And now, I guess what I'm saying is one of the options would be to, add a couple of days onto it. If we wanted to, we could do that.
That's amazing, because usually you get like 2 days to set up if you're lucky.
Well, these folks, what they use it for. They use it. It's actually probably it's an institution. It's a Halloween facility, right? It's a Halloween, like a haunted house facility.
Oh.
And they've had it for 37 years, and they had it on another part of town, and the government came in by eminent domain and took them out in 2013, so they got this 30 acres. But the story behind this family is incredible. They're not just into this. This actually got started because the father wanted to make horror movies because he loves horror movies, and he failed. But they're very successful at what they do. Their energy is very good, and the way it's kind of set up, you wouldn't even know what it is. So what we're going to do is go in early, and they've got some rolls of this material that's very inexpensive that we're just going to kind of partition their ancillary buildings, out of the way, because they got 100,000 square feet of buildings, and then just kind of set our area up, and then and populate it with the tents.
Cool.
As well. But it's a perfect spot. They do other things with the land. They grow. They have crops, organic crops they grow, and just different things they're getting into. But it's also in kind of a semi. It's in a unique spot because there's nothing around. There's 3 entrances. There's a creek that runs through it. So we're really fortunate there, and that we can, it was actually offered to me for nothing, and I said no. We're going to have an energy exchange. So they're going to take a percentage, but it's really just a creative collaboration that fits right in with the energy of what you're doing, what we're doing, and what we're all doing. Which to me is really, Soulogy is just another word for what we all share. It's the Holy Spirit or Source or whatever you want to call it. And I love the idea that technology is involved and where it's come to this year. I don't know if you follow Mateus De Stefano. He's a pretty impressive young man who's had many, he has recall of many planetary lives and such, and Lemuria, Atlantis, and then off planet, off universe. But he talks about how this ascension is with AI, with tech. And in that it is consciousness. Well, what we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Everything is all that God substance, and so this fits with it. To me, it fits with it. And what I've been receiving since January about this year and about what I'm involved with was that this would, first of all, I was going to do it in September, and I was going to do it in a different place, like Austin, Texas. And then the universe just came in and said, no, you're not. You're going to do it in December. And I'm thinking, December? And then everything got presented to me. And my understanding is it's kind of like a preview or a ramp up into 2024 as we start to utilize the type of energies that you've tapped into, that Ty's tapped into, and that we try to tap into. That spontaneous, creative, imaginative, intuitive, courageous, flow. And so, yeah, I'm really happy to have met you and to have been a part of this today. And I look forward to, all of us sitting down and seeing what we can come up with.
Well, thank you, Todd, and it's been really a pleasure speaking with you and working with Ty and, of course, Caesar, who's a good buddy here in LA. So to be continued.
That's right.